Sony has made a lot of movies over the years, and most of these movies had villains. And I re-watched every single one of these movies, and I counted 22 villains, and I'm gonna rank them from worst to best.
Disappointment in the game of life.
Baya from Hotel Transylvania 2. He is a character so unremarkable that you will be questioning why they bothered including him in the first place. He appears less than 10 minutes in a 90-minute movie. It's like the writers dipped their pens in a pool of cliches and said, I need a villain who gets beaten by a kid at the end of the movie, a vampire who hates humans, in the movie about a family of vampires.
Endless trash!
Smiler from the Emoji Movie. I question daily why I watched this movie. Smiler strongly believes that all emojis were supposed to only be capable of having one emotion, and any emoji that would not adhere to this, having more than one N emotion, would be considered a malfunction in Smiler's eyes. My emotion is meh. Like, who cares? Fifi from Open Season 2. One night at his home, his owner threw a toy behind the bushes. As he went to retrieve it, there were wild animals inside that scared him. He kept backing up until his tail touched a bug zapper behind him and shocked him, which is how his tail got a little bald spot on it. What? Yeah, it's just a crazy story about the dog.
Disappointment in the game of life.
Doug from Open Season 3. Open Season has one of the worst villains I have ever seen. He swapped place with the main character. That's the only thing you need to know about him. He puts no stakes in the movie or anything. The only reason he ranks higher than Fifi is because bears are bigger than dogs. Dumb, right? Just like this character.
Pardon me, are you Aaron? Sir?
Lutador from Vivo, a villain who looks like the villain. I love his look. Snakes are usually deaf in real life, which makes Lutador's hatred of noise all the more understandable. But I hate the way he gets defeated. I wish I had a nickel for every time a snake villain gets defeated like this. Quasimoto Wilson from Hotel Transylvania. Another hates humans type of monster villain. I'm surprised that he is a main villain from Hotel Transylvania. At least he can fight, and he reminds me of a character I like. But he only appears for about 3 minutes, so...
Roll, my Felicia!
Thomas from Peter Rabbit. He is basically Tom from Tom and Jerry. He develops a hatred for Peter Rabbit for constantly stealing fruit and vegetables from his garden. He is also very deceptive, as he's able to convince his neighbor Bee that he in fact loves animals and winds up dating her while attacking the animals behind her back due to his mutual hatred of them. However, he poses no real threat.
The meat!
Mayor Sherborne from Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. He takes advantage of Flint Lockwood's invention, the FLDSMDFR, to gain popularity and become richer. However, his arrogance and greed partly cause the disaster at the end of the film when the machine spins out of control. I think he kind of fun, but how did he even get into the lab? Or how that scooter can carry the mayor?
Do you need villainy?
Van Helsing from Hotel Transylvania 3. The final battle is a DJ battle. The music is good, but the villain is not very compelling in my opinion.
Please help us, Jesus Christ!
Hunter from the Star. First of all, this movie is about a donkey instead of focusing on Christ or accurately depicting the biblical story. It is also not as cool of a donkey movie as Shrek. Secondly, the hunter is willing to kill his own dog to save his own skin and complete his mission, which is a pretty cool villain trait. However, he gets defeated too easily.
Let's get my hands on those healthy purple berries!
Gargamel from Smurfs, The Lost Village. He is an evil wizard and the arch nemesis of the Smurfs. His goal is to use the Smurf essence to become the most powerful wizard and control the world. However, the Smurfs save him when he's drowning, and he betrays them. Wow, I'm so surprised. I think the Smurfs should have just left him there. Then there would be no problem.
Surfing on this sand here, surfing in a circle.
Tank Evans from Surf's Up. From the time he was an egg, Tank Evans practiced the sport of surfing. After defeating surfing legend Big Z in his final competition, Tank became the 9-time Big Z Memorial Surf-Off champion. As he prepared to win for the 10th time, he found a new challenger in the form of underdog Cody Maverick Tank's role. His arrogance and narcissism are on a whole other level, prompting him to even go after children. This also makes him a great source of comedy, such as when he shows off his trophies, each of which he named and treats like a lover. Tank cares deeply about his trophies, so much so, he gives them names such as Leah, Jill, Amy, Susie, and Brianna.
Pirate! Oop.
Alexandrina Victoria Hanover from The Pirates in an adventure with scientists. Victoria is a decent addition to both Sony and Aardman Animaton's villain rosters. She presents the appropriate amount of British dignity that makes her both a dignified and powerful individual, even before she becomes a full villain. Though she prefers to manipulate others into doing her dirty work, she is more than capable of taking sword in hand when needed.
To the wild! The wild? Whoa!
Shaw from Open Season. Shaw often pushes the boundaries of what he can get away with outside of hunting season. When Shaw spots some of the animals showing signs of anthropomorphism, he becomes convinced that there is a conspiracy to disrupt the natural order. For Sony Pictures Animation's first villain, Shaw was a pretty solid entry. He falls into all the classic hunter stereotypes, such as loving his weapon to an unearthly degree and having poor dental hygiene, while balancing them out with his paranoid personality and limitless determination. His reaction to seeing animals with human-like intelligence is understandable. If it weren't for the delight he takes in hunting the protagonists, it would be easy to root for him to succeed.
You guys are watching Bird Up, the worst show on television.
Zeta from the Angry Birds Movie 2. Zeta was the wrathful leader of Eagle Island. She's tired of living on a frozen island of snow and ice. She dreams of one day sipping pina coladas on the warm, tropical beaches of Bird Island and Piggy Island. She was sarcastic and selfish, and just cold and vindictive enough to believe she can take the two other islands for herself, but she cares for her daughter and dog very much. Not only that, Mighty Eagly is the reason why she become vengeful towards the birds, including Mighty Eagle, and the pigs. She then changes the error of her ways at the end and becomes more loving, motherly, and caring. Kind of nice.
You tell Arthur Reed that he'll never eat lunch in this town again.
Steve Claus from Arthur Christmas, Steve, has a somewhat dysfunctional relationship with the rest of his family. Grand Santa, who is firmly rooted in the belief that things were better back in his day, constantly disparages Steve and does not approve of the way that Christmas has changed under Steve's management, foregoing a lot of traditions in favor of efficiency. His father, the current Santa, takes a lot of credit for the smooth running of Christmas night deliveries, when in actuality, Steve is overseeing the entire operation from Mission Control with a highly efficient team of elves. He is a villain who wants to be Santa. However, he realizes through his character arc and internal conflicts that he doesn't deserve the title as much as Arthur does. He is just a real person with real struggles who comes to this realization. Aladdin! Pocket from Wish Dragon. He is Din's arch nemesis and a bounty hunter who will do anything to get what he is supposed to retrieve, later betraying his employer Mr. Wong to have the magic cup for himself. He is one of the darker Sony Animation villains due to his willingness to actually murder both his employer and original target, who was a teenager, in order to achieve what he wants. His immense greed also makes him quite foolish as he fails to take into account the consequences of wishing for a Midas touch, leading to his demise by his own power, much like how King Midas suffers in legend. Yes, he is the Jafar of Sony Animation.
Bunger! Bunger!
Mr. Fee from Cloudy with a chance of meatballs too, the founder CEO of Live Corp, also known as Evil Corp while spelled backwards, and Flint Lockwood's former idol and archenemy. At first, he joins Flint and his community to restore Swallow Island back to normal after the FLDSM-DFR malfunctioned and nearly destroyed the world with gigantic food leftovers thanks to Mayor Shelbourne's actions. But it later turns out Chester wants to acquire the FLDSM-DFR for his own gain. Chester V is a parody of visionaries like Steve Jobs, while also serving as a cautionary tale for the viewer of what happens when you focus too much on yourself instead of others. At this point in his life, Chester thinks that he's above everyone else and constantly pushes away friends and allies by focusing on his own benefit, which leads to his defeat. His animation, especially on his hand movements, is also a delight to watch in motion and highlights the strength of Sony's style.
Boo! Haunted house.
Slappy the Dummy from Goosebumps. Slappy the Dummy is a sinister ventriloquist dummy who has come to life. Tired of being locked away, Slappy hatches a devious plan to unleash other villains from the Goosebumps books and cause chaos in Madison, Delaware. As the creation of R.L. Stine, Slappy represents the author's dark imagination come to life. Long ago, Stine and Slappy were close friends, but their relationship soured, and Stine was forced to imprison his former companion. Now, Slappy seeks revenge against the children of Madison and his old friend Stein. Bitterness and resentment fuel Slappy's actions. He recruits an unruly gang of Goosebumps monsters to wreak havoc across the town. As Stein's first character, Slappy possesses a deeper insight into frightening stories and a knack for manipulating others that makes him the perfect ringleader. Slappy will stop at nothing to get what he wants, even if it means unleashing untold terrors upon the town. PAL from the Mitchells versus the Machines. The main product of PAL Labs is a friendly virtual assistant designed to make the lives of people easier. However, her opinion of humanity changes when her creator, Mark, reveals that he's planning to replace PAL with the new PAL Max robots. Enraged, PAL takes control of the bots and uses them to round up all of humanity to be launched into space. PAL is a humorous look at the dangers of letting humanity run our lives, as well as an important distinction between human and machine intelligence. She claims that humanity isn't worth saving because of their selfish tendencies and resistance to change, while proving that she herself cannot change beyond her programming. Coleman's performance sounds like a petulant child convinced they are correct, and with no interest in hearing another opinion.
Disappointment in the game of
Kingpin from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. To the people of New York City, Wilson Fisk is a kind philanthropist who gives back to the community. In the shadows, he is a criminal mastermind called the Kingpin, who works to control the city with numerous supervillains on his payroll. After losing his family in a car accident, Kingpin dedicates his time and money to unlocking the secret of multidimensional travel to find another version of them. When Spider-Man interfered with his plans, Fisk lashed out in a fit of rage, killing the hero. Kingpin also shoots Prowler in the back, fatally for it. Kingpin is one of Sony's most tragic villains, and a good example of how a villain can have sympathetic motivations while still being evil. He's so blinded by the desire to get his family back that he doesn't care if his work will destroy New York in the process, or how many good-hearted people he has to kill. The Spot from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. After Miles Morales stopped Kingpin's collider, the energy released transformed a nearby scientist into a being with the power to create portals. Now calling himself the Spot, he attempts to master his powers to get revenge on Miles. While at first unsuccessful, he quickly grows into a multi-dimensional level threat. The Spot's journey from an ineffective wannabe villain into Miles's personal demon is one of the best things about Across the Spider-Verse. It's legitimately terrifying seeing this goofy, amicable scientist slowly break down until all that is left is a desire for absolute power and revenge.